Rimowa has opened a new boutique in New York's Soho shopping district. Working with the designers from MA-MA and Mass Studio, the European luxury travel accessory company wanted to blend the brand's aesthetic with cues from the industrial nature of the store's surroundings. In this video, retail experts Piers, Fawkes and Gab Beta interview the designers Safura and Sanam Salek about their work for Rimowa. So, joining me today, I have Safura Salek from Mass Studio, and I have Sanam Salek from MA-MA, a design studio as well. And I also have my colleague Gab Beta from Whereabouts Studio helping with the interview today. Hey, everybody, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great, thank you.
I'm great, thank you. I'm great. I'm super excited to talk to you about the work that you did at the Rimowa store in New York. It's a new store, and it's got a bunch of press. And I'd love to just ask you about the philosophy you had when you thought about approaching the design here for the store.
Yeah, of course. Well, of course, we always kind of start with what the client is looking for and really trying to pay attention and celebrate their brand. So that's first off. And second off, they talked about really wanting the space and the design to be as flexible as possible. We're working in a very kind of small space. It's around 500 square feet for the retail portion. So we really wanted to kind of dive in deep and figure out ways to make the user experience more interesting, to promote the brand and celebrate the brand with different materials, to celebrate the context of Soho with these kind of industrial materials we wanted to use. So it was really to celebrate the brand and the neighborhood as well.
Well, I had the privilege of being in this store when I was in New York last week. So it was really exciting to look at it from the lens of a traveler that hasn't been traveling.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
Also from a lover of the brand. So really great work. I would love to start with, and you just touched on materials, so we can just focus on the design. You mentioned that you wanted it to capture the spirit of New York. When you think about travel and the brand tenants, were there other materials and fixtures that you guys are dabbling with when you're designing this store that you felt represented the broader values of the brand, but not necessarily the locale?
We wanted to reflect the kind of the materiality of their luggages and the details that they put in. So like, the use of polycarbonate really reflects the silhouette of the suitcases, and how they use the aluminum that we use reflects the materiality. And then, like a lot of the fixtures that we had to implement would basically, we wanted it to be something that would maybe disappear in a bit, like the light fixtures, it's kind of like it frames the space, but you don't really focus on it as much. So that you can really focus on the fixtures that are housing the suitcases, and this, like the focal point being this central pivoting concrete table, was something that we wanted to focus on, as well as the cylindrical passport photo booth, which we used a material that would reflect the space and it would kind of disappear. So it became kind of a surprise element in a way.
Right. And I'll just add on to that by, the idea is that we really wanted to use kind of raw materials and something that like reflects Soho. So you have these kind of concrete pillars that are the foundation of the pivoting tables. We're using a concrete texture for the walls. We're using aluminum, basically like raw materials that really reflect the surroundings.
I completely agree. I mean, I got a sense of industriality as well when we were looking at all those materials. So the raw use of organic materials, even with the floor that you were using. It really came through. It was very delightful to be in that space. And I had no idea that the passport was back there. So just by even revealing the passport photo booth and having the entrance be from the backside was a really interesting play on the experience that I enjoyed. Well, let's talk about the main attraction. I would love for you to just take us back a little bit on the inception of the photo booth. And I would also be interested in hearing more about the process and if there were alternative services that you were looking to implement in this space outside of what you landed on. So if you can just take us back to the original conversation with the client and then where you ended up, better understanding that would be really helpful. Service design is such a huge aspect of retail today. So the fact that you have a multifunctional space is it's critical.
Yeah, of course. When we got the brief, it was an interesting brief because they asked us to think about obviously creating a more conventional retail space, but then also adding in or proposing experiential elements within the space. So, we came up with a lot of different ideas. Some were, oh God, what did we come up with? We ended up having a kind of a DJ booth in the background. That was like one of our, it was called Radio Rimowa. So it's this idea that people, celebrities can come, you would have a back door. It's like you can kind of see through that people are talking. It's almost like a podcast station where people can come in and talk about their travels and where they're going. They really like that idea. I think that would have taken a lot more for Rimowa to kind of implement and organize and get people to come in. So I think we also proposed this photo booth because it's so antiquated, the way that we all go take pictures, whether it's at a post office or your local CVS. And, we just thought maybe there's a way that we can make this a one-stop shop. You're getting your luggage, you're getting your pictures for your passport, you're getting a little passport holder, and come in and make a really elevated experience, just like the brand. So yeah, that's how the kind of the process that came about. And we thought to make this really kind of central, like iconic figure in the middle. This, before I was saying, something that kind of disappears and enlarges the space. So, we loved the idea. We wanted to make it like minimal and stark, just kind of like the brand. It's all about the basics. And so we had a stark white interior. We had really an adjustable seating, beautiful kind of lighting, and we worked with great kind of tech consultants to make this come alive.
I just want to add the tech consultants that we talked to, Brooklyn Research, they're also from New York. They're great. And they really kind of helped us manifest what we wanted to design. We really kind of thought that this would be like this kind of capsule, this like futuristic capsule that you would kind of go into. And once you close the door, you're kind of sitting in this white space that, it has to be white because of the photo, but also kind of, you feel like you're kind of disappears in a way, like you're kind of just floating within this space. And that was like the whole idea of the exterior as well, which is like this element that's floating within in this space. The logo is the only thing that's kind of stationary there, and that's floating within its space. And then the cylinder, so we wanted it to be very simple, very stark inside, and it's really just you in that.
Yeah. I think the idea is that the biggest thing, as Safura was saying, is that it's completely private. So it's not like, you go and take your photo once and you're kind of stuck with that. You can sit in there for 10 minutes and find the best picture for you. So I think what's great about that is that everyone leaves the photo booth happy. Which is
It's
great
actually-
because you get your best photo, you
Right.
get your best picture.
For
It's
the next
actually
10
funny
years.
because our sister, Layla, who couldn't make it today, her passport expired. And she went in, she went into the space just like as a regular customer and sat there and took a bunch of photos. And she was like, you know, it took away her anxiety of like, so she could basically kind of sit there and like, you know, do it until she found the right photo for herself.
Right.
You know, which if, you know, to most people is important.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're going to have for the next 10 years on a
Exactly.
document that everyone and their mothers would see, you know.
Well, we talk a lot about just retail technology and collecting as much data from the customer as possible. And this might be a controversial topic, but when I went through the photo booth and the overall journey, I was also thinking about, from a marketing standpoint, how you capture the information of where people go depending on scanning their passport, as well as the expiration date of their passport and when they need to renew and come into the store. So there's a lot, whether we can do that legally or not, from a data standpoint, I do think that there's a lot of layers that can, even with the current experience, that could evolve over time. Even offering, I'm curious, I'll put this back to you, but how will this space evolve? Will it always be a passport studio, or can we expect other interesting experiences to be revealed from that location?
That's a really good question. We haven't kind of gone beyond that, but I'm sure if they end up getting tired of the passport photo booth, we can rethink what that cylinder houses.
Maybe the DJ booth comes back.
Yeah,
Like
that's a good one. Maybe it becomes some kind of podcast station.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think also to your point, like, you know, I think this flexibility within the space and just makes it more fun and makes it more timeless. And I think for them to have the power in changing the fixtures and the shelving can keep everything really fresh.
The whole kind of concept of the space was really to direct the consumer in certain paths. And that's why we had like the flexibility of the tables, you know, that could rotate and basically dictate the way that, you know, the patron would move around the space. And so also because the space was kind of like round at the end, we wanted this ability to force them to kind of go behind that area and view what's there, because, you know, that way, like you can see the whole space, you know, as opposed to just like coming in and looking at from the front and then like leaving because you don't, you know, you've already seen everything that you could, or seeing it from like the storefront. So this way you're kind of directed in a way.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I also noticed, I mean, when you're working with a 500 square foot space, that's a jewel box space, and it's very common to have that square footage in Soho, but it did, by having that mirrored pillar, it made the space feel so much larger than it really was. And having a product line that is, you don't have a lot of SKUs, it helps to be able to really spotlight and hero the product, but have it feel larger than life in that setting. So it was really wonderful job. In terms of the purpose behind the fixtures, you spoke to this a little bit more, but I'd love to just get a sense of, by fixture, we can start with where the luggages were housed along the walls of the space. Can you speak about how you were thinking through the design of that fixture to spotlight the product, but also allow for really clear functionality with the store associates that were working with that product with the customers?
Yeah, of course. So starting with the shelving units, we're basically using like a fixed aluminum divides and, you know, polycarbonate inserts. And when you use kind of polycarbonate, you almost get like diffuse light, and it makes things end up glowing. So we really wanted that to elevate the luggage, not have kind of spotlights, but could get beautiful and glow in a certain way. What's also interesting, the shelving unit, is we didn't want that to be fixed as well. So all the shelves are flexible and you can move it and create a new layout for the luggage. You can remove the shelves. So we created the kind of like initial layout. Everything is flexible. And then we also have these sliding polycarbonate doors on some of the shelving units. And the idea was to really create a little bit of mystery behind in some of those areas so that you can see the silhouette of the luggage behind. So it's all kind of just creating like more fun and flexible play with the shelving.
It's all about the reveal.
And that's, I mean, as a luxury product, that feels very much in line with what they're looking to do with all the details behind their luggage. I noticed that even with the product placement, they had the luggages almost as a lifestyle setup. So within each of the luggages, depending on the location, it seemed they were changing the types of objects and items that you would be taking with you, which had a sense of allure on what do you put in your suitcase that has some storytelling behind it as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It allowed a lot of that flexibility within those shelving units. So really great job. On the center fixture, the marquee fixture that you had in the middle of the space, can you speak through that specific to the customer experience? Because just so you get a sense, we have a video here of what was happening inside of this store when I was there. And there was a lot of customer interaction between the store associates and the customers that were inquiring about the luggage. And they were using that space really well. So if you can just speak through that fixture, that would be great.
That fixture is, they wanted a place where they can basically lay out the luggage and customize things, certain elements for the luggage, the wheels, the handles, the straps, the tags, and all that stuff. So they wanted a place where basically displays that, as well as that they can interact with the client and customize each luggage. And so, being that the space is so narrow, we wanted to kind of create something that like fit in the middle, but could also move, so that there's a central pivot. Well, it's an offset pivot on the table, housed in a concrete cylinder. And the rest of the table, which they would be using, would be cantilevered. So it's kind of this floating element. And so it would also help to make the space look much larger, in that sense. And then, so because it could pivot, they could also utilize the space and have the client interact the way they want them to. So, the people that work there can have fun with the space and have fun with how they want to display things, either shelving and how they move the polycarbonate panels to like silhouette certain things and reveal others, to the table where they can kind of like force the person to stand a certain location in the space versus move around in the space. And so that was really kind of what we wanted to do.
So,
like giving a little bit more kind of like power back to the brand and how they want people to move through the space and see certain things, as Safura was saying. But yeah.
That's it's interesting because we're not even talking about, when you look at the photos of the space, there's not even a cash wrap present. So was that something that you had a long discussion about including or not including in the design of the store?
They were actually really open to the fact that they wanted most of the stuff back housed. And, we actually wanted, there's a pocket door in the space that is the same material as the wall. So it's almost like a hidden pocket door. So if they always like close it, you wouldn't really kind of know that there's a back house behind it. So we wanted that, as well as if you open the pocket door, you'd have this kind of, we painted it this, dark forest green because we wanted to still, put a kind of vision in that and make it look like a nice space, you know, so that even if they open the door, you pop of green or something would be like, oh, what's there? And it's kind of an elegant color in a way, and it complements the space. It doesn't really take away from the space. So, but we wanted all of that business in the back, and they were really open to that.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. There's a lot of friction that could happen with centralizing your space around buying. And this is a long game purchase. It's a high priced product.
Exactly.
So it more like a clienteling.
Exactly. And I do agree with you that it really elevates the experience when you don't cash wrap in your face. You know, when the you know, the person working there kind of brings you your bag and your receipt and doesn't like exchange money in the middle of a store. You know, it's kind of very old school, which I really like.
That's great. It's been fascinating to listen to this conversation today. Congratulations on the launch of the Rimowa store and your work there.
Thank you so
you
much.
can obviously tell that we're super impressed and we really enjoy the design that got implemented and how it manifested. So thank you for that work. Safura Salek from our studio and Sanam Salek from MA-MA. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Gab, for helping us as well today.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you
It's a
so
pleasure.
much.
If you'd like Gabriella or the PSFK team to create a special innovation tour of any city, check the details, including contact information, on the services page at psfk.com.